Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Today I'm going to be doing a one palette tutorial. So I'm going to be using this entire palette to do my eyebrows, my eyes, my cheeks, and my lips. And that might sound a little bit odd, but if you stick around I'll show you how I do it. So I have just sped through my base makeup, which is my concealer, my powder, and a little bit of eyeshadow primer. And now I'm going to move on to my palette. And this is a really interesting and convenient way of doing your face, because if you just do it with one palette, you can bring one thing with you on the go and touch up as needed. You don't have to bring a whole bunch of different items with you. So I've shown this palette before. It's the Tartelette In Bloom palette. And as you can see, there are enough colors here that I can do my whole face. There are some pinks down here that I can use for blush. There are some browns here that I can use to fill in my eyebrows. And there are some varying colors I can use for my eyes. Now I don't contour my face. You can. And today I'm going to, just to show you that you can contour pale skin with this palette, specifically these two shades here. So I'm going to start by doing that. I'm going to take the shade Jet Setter, which is a very cool toned brown, on this little fluffy brush. My Nana used to give me tiny little brushes all the time, and who knew that they would come in handy. So I'm just going to take a tiny amount of that, and because this is eyeshadow and not an actual contour, it's very pigmented, so I'm just kind of tapping a little bit of the excess off before I put it on my face. And what you want to do when you're contouring is kind of find your cheekbone, and then just kind of lightly go underneath it to create a shadow. And like I say, I don't do this typically, but for today I want to show you that you can with this palette. And you can always flip the brush sideways and kind of blend like this. You can see how that's already created a bit of a shadow for me. And then you just move on to the other side. Find your cheekbone and go underneath it. And there you go, like that. And I am going to take a tiny bit on the brush and go just along the temples here. Now that you've done that, you can move on to your blush. And I'm going to do a mix of these two shades here, Sweetheart and Rebel, with a Real Techniques blush brush. And I'm just going to tap into Sweetheart and then a little bit into Rebel, and again just kind of tap off a little bit of the excess just above that contour, brush downwards. And kind of swirl around to blend in as needed. And then you have your blush on. And for highlight, like I said in one of my other videos, I don't usually wear highlight either, but for the sake of the video, again, I want to show you that you can with Funny Girl on this angled Sonia Kashuk brush on the tops of your cheekbones. And that's it for the cheeks. For eyebrows, I'm going to take this angled brush from EcoTools, and I'm going to start off with Jet Setter, even though it looks quite light, because these shades over here are quite dark. I'm going to start off with something lighter and then go in with a darker shade if I need to. And I'm not gonna comb my eyebrows yet. I'm gonna wait until after I've put the product in. So starting with Jet Setter, taking a little bit of the product and tapping it off as needed. I'm going to start at the end of the brow and work my way forward. For those of you who have this palette, you ever just like smell it? It smells so good. I wish all eyeshadow palettes smelled like this. It smells like pure vanilla. It's amazing. So this is what my brows look like after filling them in with just the pale brown shade Jet Setter, and they look okay, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to add in a little bit of Activist right here. Smoke Show is a little bit darker and a little bit closer to being like a black shade. This has just a little bit more warmth to it. So I'm going to use Activist and just literally the tiniest amount on the brush and start filling in the areas where I think it would look better for them to be darker. So not necessarily in towards the front, but maybe in the center and a little bit at the back. This will add a little bit of depth and dimension and fullness. And that's the finished look with the darker color, and I've now combed them through. So now you want to move on to the actual eyeshadow look, and for this I decided that I would show you how to do a very wearable neutral smoky eye without any black, because as I said, this does not have any actual black shades. The closest is that one up there, and it's still not a true black. So what you want to do is grab your trusty blending brush and start off with the palest shade and start working your way up to something darker. So I'm going to start with Flower Child. Tap off the excess and start with the windshield wiper motions in the crease. And remember that whatever you do on one side you want to do to the other. So grab that color and start blending it into the crease on the other side. Once you have enough of that, tap into Flower Child and Smarty Pants to create a blend of the two, and then go in. Because the trick here is we want to very slowly build a gradient effect. I'm then going to grab a little bit of Smarty Pants on its own. I'm going to start focusing that really into the socket area, and I'm not going to blend that too high up, just a tiny bit. And when I start blending up, that's when I do the little circular motions to kind of push that pigment. I'm going in with Jet Setter now. The darker you go, the harder it can be to get smooth lines because, I mean, on very pale skin, anything dark can tend to look a little harsh, so just really take your time and blend it well. But these colors are very smooth and they do blend easily. And once you have that blended out, we're finally just going to dip in once in Jet Setter and once in Smoke Show and tap. And really focus that, kind of look down, keep your eye open, right in the outer crease. And you can darken it as needed, but just start with a little bit. I should say darken it as needed or as wanted. And this is where you can start blending it down onto the lid as well. I find it helps to kind of tilt your head at different angles so you can see if your work needs blending from a different angle. Because maybe it looks fine from the front, but once you turn your head, you'll notice a spot. I should mention that if you don't have this palette, you don't have to run out and buy it. You can use whatever colors you want. You can use black if you like using black. I find that black is way too harsh on me. It makes me look very sickly. That's why I tend to use these neutrals and these colors that are off black because they are much more wearable on my skin. So that's just my preference, and if you don't like that, you can do what works for you. That's absolutely your choice. I'm now going to go in with a little bit of the shimmery shade Rocker on a Real Techniques shading brush. Not dampened, but you can dampen it and make it a little bit more shiny. I'm just patting that on rather than swiping it on. This will make the pigment much more powerful. And taking the clean side of that brush, I'm going to take a tiny bit of Jet Setter and Smoke Show and add a little bit to that outer corner on each eye. I'm going back in with my Kit fluffy blending brush and just making sure that those shades blend nicely together and that there isn't a line between the two. On that Real Techniques brush, I'm going to grab a little bit of Jet Setter and press it up against my lower lash line. And I'm just going to make it end around the center of my iris. I'm going to add a little bit of Smoke Show to that. For the inner corners, I'm taking Funny Girl on this small detail brush by Sonia Kashuk. I'm also going to take a little bit of Funny Girl on an Eco Tools flat shader brush and kind of press that underneath my brow bone. Because Charmer, the matte white shade, it doesn't show up on my skin. I'll highlight the Cupid's bow with that too. For my mascara, this is the only thing for the eyes that I am not using the palette for. This is a small sample of Makeup Forever Excessive Lash, and this is the wand. At first I wasn't too impressed with this mascara, but I found out there's a little bit of a trick. As you're putting it on and wiggling it through, kind of blink as it gets to the root, and it really will pump up the volume, so to speak. So kind of wiggle it through and then blink, and it'll pull the wand the rest of the way through. Lashes for days. Once you're done with that, we're gonna do lips, and you're probably thinking, how the hell do you do lipstick with eyeshadow? Well, I have lip balm on. I'm gonna take my ring finger into the shade Rebel, which is kind of like a burgundy, kind of reddish shade. I'm gonna rub my finger through there and start swiping it through my lips. And because I'm wearing lip balm, the pigment is going to start spreading through the lip balm and darkening up my lips, turning it into a lipstick. It's like magic. When is this witchcraft? Interesting, right? I hope that you found this tutorial interesting and helpful. I want to thank all of my friends at Chick Advisor for watching my last video, or videos. I'll have 2 up by this point. Thank you for your feedback. It was very helpful. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. I'll see you next time.